What up? What up? What up, podcast party people? Your man Robb Flynn here, chilling on a Sunday, the day after Death Angel, where my man, my guest, Carlos Cruz played from the mighty Warbringer. The mighty Warbringer opened for supported Death Angel last night for their Christmas shows. Yesterday was my anniversary, though, so I didn't end up going. My wife and I's. It's me and my wife's 28th getting together anniversary. It's the day that we first kissed and made out and hung out with each other. So ended up going to this thing called Shen Yun, which is a classical Chinese dance thing that's kind of looks like crazy ninja shit with some fucking crazy outfits. Almost Cirque du Soleil-ish, but it ended up not being anything like that. It was cool, though. I could have done without all the crazy religious overtones and the Chinese Jesus, which made my wife and I just laugh out loud, actually. But the dancing was cool, and it was crazy kind of ninja shit. It was pretty cool, pretty rad. Wouldn't go see it again, but I'd recommend for you to see it. Anyway, my guest here today, actually, before I get into my guest, Carlos Cruz from Warbringer, I'm going to set this up. Our sponsors, as you know, Gas Digital puts this out, the mighty Gas Digital Network. I'm going to give them a shout out for having an unbelievable amount of patience and me getting my shit together for the No Fucking Regrets podcast. Finally got it together in a flow here, and they've been kicking ass, man. Ralph, Bobby, Francis, they have been crushing it for me. And those guys have worked their asses off, man. So shout out to them. Shout out to Nuclear Blast for helping put this shit together. And my sponsor today, No Fucking Regrets with Robb Flynn, is brought to you by Blackened Whiskey, which is Metallica's Blackened American Whiskey. It is a combination of several different aged whiskeys, and the thing that makes it super extra cool and heavy metal is that they played into the aged oak barrels. They played Metallica songs. So they took Metallica songs. They made a playlist. I don't know if they did this as a group. I'm just trying to think in my head. Like, I wonder if the four of them sat down and actually like made a playlist for each batch. So it's like small batch whiskey, and they've got a bunch of playlists where they take the playlist and they play the playlist all day and night, shooting the sound waves into the barrel, the whiskey barrel, and it does something to help age it or blend it, or it does something to it, because there's a whole process. And I was reading about it, and I actually tried this. I gotta say, they make a darn good whiskey, those Metallica fuckers. God damn them, they make a darn good whiskey. We went and caught them in Milwaukee, and they had Lars set up we had our own dressing room. So it was awesome. And he set it up, and back there they had the Metallica beer, they had the Metallica Pilsner, and then they had the Blackened whiskey had just dropped. And so we drank some of it, and it was good. It was really good. It was some solid shit. So Blackened American Whiskey by Metallica, out everywhere. You can find it at Costco. That's where I just saw it at Costco. So you can get it at Costco. Pretty much everywhere. But yes, that's who brought you this week's episode. My guest, Mr. Carlos Cruz, is a ridiculous drummer, ridiculous guitar player, great songwriter. He started off in the band Hexen, and at some point joined Warbringer. And I was introduced to him by my engineer, Zach, who recommended him for some new songs that we were working on. And that's how I came to know Carlos. And he came up and he worked on about 5 Machine Head tracks. 3, I think, we ended up keeping all of his tracks. But one of them was Do or Die, the new song that Machine Head just released. And he fucking killed it on that song. Oh, my God. Really killed it on that. Another song called Exodusted, which was just straight up Exodus thrash worship, which he also slated on. And then he also played on the track Stop the Bleeding. He did really good on all of them. I was really grateful to have him. And I'm really excited to have him on the podcast here because this dude's awesome. And he's got some ridiculously awesome posture. He's got like his posture is crazy good. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Carlos Cruz.
Too by somebody just walking by watching me.
I noticed it on stage.
Rehearse.
Did you?
This is good stuff for the podcast.
He does. He has fucking great posture. You have such amazing, like even when you play drums, it's like, I don't even think I can stand that straight just doing nothing like at my computer.
No. Are we?
We're on, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Because I want to include that because it's so true. Like on stage last night, I noticed Carlos is just, he's so, I guess it's chest forward.
Which is good.
He's like complete. I can't even talk into the mic correctly because I slouch too much in my normal thing. But like he's chest forward, arms back. Like you don't see any drummers with their like elbows behind. Like he's like this, and nobody plays like everybody slouches over.
It's probably the type of thing though, where like because you're sitting down and everything's forward, like your natural thing would be to slouch, right?
Yeah, and I'm so tall, so I usually have to set the kit up a lot higher.
Yeah,
so I don't hunch over,
right?
And then just through the course of time touring with different bands, the one guy who like looked at me and was like, pro tip, it was Ventor from Creator.
Okay.
Pro tip, the kit's too far set too far down, you're hunching over. The top of your back, you're going to feel that in a couple years.
Right.
Lift everything up, sit up straight.
Nice.
I was like, yes, sir.
That's some good advice.
Yeah, no, that was that. So that like definitely changed. That was like one of the pro tips that came my way that pretty much changed everything. So I just sit like that now.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
That's killer.
Thanks, Ventor.
Yeah. I know, right? Like it's good to have those little tips along the way.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when we'd play with Motorhead, I was always just like, man, Lemmy's got that microphone way up. I wonder. And at the time I was like in that Hetfield mode, like hunching over the mic. Yeah. And then after like years of doing it, I was like, yeah, that microphone being up is great because it's like your posture is good.
You feel that helps? Like you
I never did not that high, not that high, but I've been doing that just because like I'm just been working on my posture and like
help with like breathing.
Yeah,
like,
it kind of helps with everything. And like you're singing.
I definitely Hetfield was like down.
Yeah, I mean that was like brutal, like so hunched over. It just had to hurt.
Fucking guitar on you.
Yeah.
There's so many singers I see that do that kind of thing with their like weird posture thing. And that's actually, you've seen me in the studio. I'll talk to singers a lot and like, be honest, how do you actually sing into a mic? And if some guy's like, well, in reality, I actually just like go up like this. I'm okay. Then we're going to put the mic like way up here and you're going to sing up to it.
Yeah.
Let's not mess with your normal thing because every singer's thing's different. There's a correct way, but nobody does things correct.
I look at videos from 94 and 95 when I first started touring and I'm just, like it just hurts looking. I'm like, oh my God, look how fucking hunched over I am. I'm like, I'm like banging all hunched over.
You don't look like the same person on stage. Really.
Yeah.
Like your posture, everything about how you play.
Yeah, I was constantly injured and I constantly had neck pain and just like after a while I was like, okay, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't just the bang over anymore. It was like this is
it was like I mean, and I herniated a disc back somewhere along the way, and so it's just like, okay, we gotta modify some things here. Something's going wrong.
There's all those bands that I saw like doing crazy doing all this crazy shit when they're younger. It's just like those bands literally are all breaking up right now, and some of them like in part because of like literal physical problems in their like early 40s.
Yeah.
Or whatever old they are. Like
even younger. Like the dudes in Exmortis, so it's a 4-piece band.
That's a good point.
2 of them bailed. One of them started getting carpal tunnel.
That's
the
right.
drummer,
oh shit.
The drummer started having this growth on his hand.
Wow.
So 2 of them bailed. That's why I was asked to come up here and do the record anyway. That's how we like seriously got to work.
Yeah.
And that's why we're all here in the first place.
Right.
That's true. That's the origin as to why we're in this room together right now.
Yeah. So Exmortis is going to record a record. They've got band members that are
so it's
facing serious head banging injuries.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. From the road or just not taking care of yourself.
I didn't know about the other one.
Even though they're, particularly young guys, everybody's under 30 and already feeling the wear and tear.
Yeah.
But they had a tour booked where it was Exmortis, Warbringer, and then Darkest Hour. And it was just like a quick little 15-show thing. half the band already quit. They already committed to that tour, and they had already booked time up here in January. So myself and guitarist for Warbringer, Chase Becker, did double duty that whole tour. So
gotcha.
So we played Exmortis set, and then we played the Warbringer set.
Oh, wow.
That showed. They weren't like your typical like, oh, these are fill-in guys. It was obvious there was already chemistry with them. Like,
Yeah, we go way back.
It wasn't like some situation of,
work
like
for hire or what have you.
Because I get a lot of those guys, drummer come do a studio session, but they've probably never played in a room.
Yeah.
With that
So you
band.
played on tour with them before you recorded?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
So
that's got to
was
be
super
like such a
and
right?
I had jammed with them before. Conan and I go way back 15 years or something like that.
Okay.
Just immersed in that LA scene, traveling to go hang out or go to shows. But coming up here after the fact, it was like, do the tour, do double duty. While everybody's having Christmas and New Year's, I learned all of the new record. So while my family's out making tamales or whatever, I'm over here in my garage just like grinding away, at learning these 11 songs or what have you. And then we came up here day after New Year's, and
Oh, shit.
it was tight.
Yeah.
No, it worked out.
Was that the first time you worked with Zach?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First
Awesome.
time
I
we
mean,
met.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I had known him.
And then you had worked with Exmortis before.
Yeah, I was nervous because I didn't know who he was. I had no idea who he was. I knew he was from Warbringer, and at that point I was a little less nervous. But their old drummer's great. Mario was really rock solid and always had the right vibe for all their stuffs. And then so I had more knowledge of Chase than I did of Carlos. For sure.
Okay.
I had no idea how he'd do, and he did great. It like fit the record perfect. It didn't sound like suddenly a new band at all. It was still sounded just like Exmortis, which was my biggest concern. It was like, oh, are they going to suddenly have a drummer that's like way more showy or hits soft, more importantly?
Right.
Someone with the wrong dynamic for that band.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This time around, or that particular time, I do remember setting up the drums, getting the sound. We loved it, and then the snare just kept detuning.
Oh yeah, we
left it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it ended up just being like this fat, like Ride the Lightning type snare, rather than like a newer pingy.
Right.
It was really cool, and he enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely did. And I mean, their new drummer Adrian's fucking perfect for them too. They keep hitting home runs with drummers, which is pretty rare. I gotta say, to have 3 drummers
Right.
actually all be great for the band. It's
Yeah,
downright unheard of.
I had so much going on. I was like, cool, I'll gladly do your record, and you can have more shows, in the immediate.
So you did.
I'll be there.
You
but
were doing double duty with Warbringer and Exmortis, so playing in two shows a night, and then you went right into playing on the record. And I was just reading before you came in here that you just wrapped up 54 shows in 54 days.
Yeah. With 4 in Mexico 2 days before that, right?
That's. I was
That's too
fucking.
many shows.
I was like, holy shit, because I follow you, so I was like, see it. I
nice.
could see the update. It's just like show 34 of 34. I'm like 34 in a row. Oh my god, that's 54 in a row. It's like that's got to be like that could be some Guinness Book shit right there.
I don't know.
Like
I mean, I know people tour extensively, whether they have days off. That makes it
Yeah.
a little more obviously viable to
No
to
days
go,
off.
to go out for that long. But yeah, no days off was fucking brutal,
Dude.
Luckily, I didn't have to do double duty because
When you got to show 52, were you just like, because you're like,
I felt
it's
it.
coming to an end, but
I felt it definitely. I mean, it was more of a physical thing. Mentally, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Heading back to LA.
Yeah.
A couple stops along the way. A lot of the time, it was really.
Was it ended in LA?
It started in LA and just kind of circled back around. Ended in Arizona.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it was right there.
Well, it didn't end in Arizona. It ended last night, did it not?
Well, that was the year. No, that particular tour
Okay, gotcha.
ended like
Yeah, that was-
Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So that was like a September, October run with Enforcer from Sweden. So yeah, we did 4 shows in Mexico where they were all plane, fly out. every
Yeah.
day.
Fly dates.
Exactly. Came back one day off to pack and organize all their shit, and then
Woo.
and then the tour.
So
began.
58 shows in 57 days.
Give or take, yeah.
That's fucking 59
59
days.
days.
59 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was fun though.
Yeah, I had a great time. I mean, working with Warbringer and just doing Warbringer, not having to do double duty and playing an hour set, playing new stuff, which was
The co-headline.
refreshing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Mhm.
What's Enforcer's deal? I didn't really know much about
heavy
them.
metal band from Sweden. They've been around. They're
Like
nuclear
traditional-
blast band.
like
yeah,
traditional metal?
exactly. Definitely more of a mix of the new album stuff with the Scorpions vibe. With
Oh
what I mean?
shit. Okay.
Yeah,
so it's like
cool band.
is he singing?
He sings
Yeah,
melodically.
okay.
Yeah, no guttural stuff.
Right.
No, hardly any double bass. No blast beats. No heavy guitars. Really melodic, really musical.
Oh shit. Right on.
Yeah, good songwriters. But the first time we had toured together in North America, I did do double duty. co-headlining for that same band.
Dang.
So it was like drummer had visa issues, couldn't cross in, to and from Canada because he was a fill-in already.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that. They were looking for somebody, and I was like, well, if you need help, let me know. So I had like 3 days to learn like 11 songs on the road, and then just.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about
2 different bands.
I'm thinking about my health regimen. I'm pretty healthy on the road, and I don't drink that. Like I drink if I got a day off usually because it's just too hard to Granted, we're doing 3.5 hour shows, so it's like it's different. But the accumulated amount of shows that you're doing is what I'm thinking of right now. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's insane.
Are you? I mean, you're drinking beers after shows. You're like
usually only after.
Yeah.
I'll try to hydrate, and you've seen me stretch in the kitchen and do all that thing.
Totally.
On my yoga.
Yeah, you do a lot of yoga. Yeah, we were talking doing yoga. We were talking yoga. I do yoga. I'm all about some yoga.
Maybe not you in particular, but I mean, you guys were doing shots last night. Like people are.
No, I wasn't.
No, you weren't.
That's
true.
To bruise.
Yeah,
but I will say.
But you're just out there partying.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just out there partying like every night.
Maybe
for 54 shows in a row.
Maybe not every night, but usually there's a level of like, are we gonna party or are we gonna just hang out, party,
have a few beers?
Yeah. What's the vibe? Listen to some jams, whatever.
Yeah. So on the nights where you partied, and you threw it down, and that next show when you're on show number 42, and you threw down hella hard on show after show number 41, how do you get through that?
Drumming's physical. I mean, at this particular point, extreme drumming or any drumming, rock drumming, depending on what it is, it's almost like sport. So I treat it like that way of condition, prior to it, or just have a hour or two regimen prior to showtime, just to kind of limber up, hydrate.
Yeah.
Just because it's all going to come back out right there, and you feel it right after. Like I definitely feel the hangover today after not playing a show.
Yeah.
It's
almost worse just having a one-off, right?
Yeah,
because once you're at least on tour, you're in that
exactly
you're stronger.
You're in the groove. Your body's already accustomed to like your new sleep cycle,
right?
And you already know you're doing 3.5 hour shows or what have you, like you guys are. So you're already prepared mentally, physically, etc.
Are you guys driving after that?
No,
or are you on a bus?
That last tour, we shared the bus. So
yeah, that's cool.
No driving. It was pretty much so we could party and just knock out.
That's
wake
cool.
Up,
yeah,
it's loaded.
Yeah,
again.
Right. Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
That
That's
was
really
pretty
good.
much it,
Yeah, I was like, if you guys were fucking driving in vans or something, that would just be crazy. Because you pulled up in a van today, so
one-offs.
Yeah,
way cheaper that way.
Yes, for sure.
So at least now it's a level where it's like, cool. We do any kind of support stuff. We can do like a bandwagon. So if you don't break the bank, but you still live a little more comfortably than the van.
Do girls come out to Enforcer Warbringer shows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
there
a good
were a
amount.
lot of girls there last night.
Was there?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that was a Death Angel show, so that's
that too.
Yeah.
But
in
general, there's a
they
strong.
were there for Warbringer.
Yeah, it's a good amount of pretty much throughout Mexico, U.S. and Canada, strong fan base for extreme metal in general, especially the female type. But they're like legit. L.A. especially for sure. I see a lot of my
that's rad.
Good friends are just like down to it. They deck out more than I do with denim, leather, patches,
the battle vest.
Yeah, they're into more obscure stuff that I'm, even more so than I am or whatever. It's all.
Do you guys get a lot of that satanic Hispanics?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in like 06, I don't think I was in a serious band yet, but there was a band that later, one of the first thrash bands that came out, it was called Fueled by Fire, that came out of that area that got signed to Metal Blade.
Okay.
And their guitar player, prior to them signing, quit, and he started one of the first like satanic speed metal bands of the local scene.
Yeah.
And he came to my garage and we recorded in my garage. So it was always like the satanic Hispanic thing, like from that particular point on went like full blown.
That's right.
Everybody was, into the Gods, Priest, Maiden, Sabbath, and then came, Megadeth, Metallica.
Yeah.
But then you started to dig deeper. Slayer, Possessed,
yes.
Death came along, death metal came along, black metal came along. So
yeah, so that's what I was hoping to get to with you. The show's called No Fucking Regrets, and it's about how, many people, hopefully most of the people that I talk to on this, we come to a point in life where you could go one way or another. And some of us choose this kind of crazy way with no safety net and no anything, and just because we have to go there for whatever reason.
Definitely.
And it could be, extreme sports, it could be music, it could be just anything.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to get into that with you because that's like, I think that's a pretty, you were there for that kind of, that renaissance of thrash that happened again. But there was like young kids, and I remember like, at least to my memory, it was like, I want to say like somewhere around like 05, 06 is when it started coming on my radar.
Definitely.
Where that was just like, dude, there's this whole fucking resurgence down in LA of these kids playing. They're like, they dress like how you used to dress. They're wearing like the fucking, the peg jeans and the high tops and I was like, no shit. And I started listening to, a bunch of them. I saw some of the bands when they came around and stuff. And so you were there in that, what was I remember when we recorded, and we'll get to that in a minute, we recorded Do or Die, we did Exodusted, which was, Exodus worship, basically. And, but you were telling me that the first 2 songs that you ever learned, this blew me away. The first 2 songs you ever learned were Chop Suey by System of a Down and Angel of Death by Slayer. Yeah. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, that's so far along the musical, history chart for me, but you're such a young guy that it was rad, and it was really cool to play thrash metal, Do or Die, some fucking raging thrash. Definitely. And like to play it and even construct it with you and fun. Hear this young person's version of what thrash would be, throwing in blast beats for fills and shit like that. And I was like, it was just this interesting thing. So let's go back to the beginning. Like you grew up in LA, right?
Yeah, born and raised in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. And that was pretty much it. My elder sister got into rock music first, but whatever was popular on the radio. But then sooner or later came that second wave of the new metal, which would have been System of a Down and Slipknot, which were a little later than, the Korns.
Like the later, exactly. The later new metal.
So that's what I got because I was younger.
Right.
So that's what I was exposed.
So that was kind of your entry point. Yes. Oh, crazy. System and Slipknot.
Yeah. Got to cut in here too.
And that was please. And that was like, that was like still really, they were coming in at number 1. Like
definitely.
Both of them.
Oh, one of the best things I saw when the 2 of you were in the studio recording was that you went in, you played Chop Suey.
Oh, right. Yeah, we did. That's right.
I have a recording of it.
Do we?
Yeah, I still have
shit.
that.
Oh, we got to put that on. That would be good.
Have to dig
Let's put that at the end.
But I remember, I was like, oh, they're just going to do this. They're going to keep going.
Yeah,
like,
you started riffing.
That's right.
I ran behind the drums and it just kept going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did the whole song.
That was fun. I remember that.
At the end and shit. I'm just like yelling.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, it's on the mics. I remember that. I could hear you singing.
Right on.
So you started. So you start with Slipknot, System of a Down.
Yeah. More so System of a Down. Slipknot was like, their first record came out and there was some great material on it. So I kind of followed up maybe like the first few. But System of a Down was really like the game changer. That Toxicity album.
I was gonna say Toxicity.
For me, was like front to back awesome. I got to learn how to play this on drums. At that point, I was playing a little bit, but simpler stuff like the Ramones, the Strokes, easier things that were just like meat potatoes drumming. So then my skill level could kind of develop. It's all like I pretty much self-taught, all learned by ear. So it's just putting on headphones, listening to what they're doing, so you can catch a Ramones beat.
John, how do you say his last name? Doyleman? Is that how you say his last name? John, the drummer for System.
Domain maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
Shout out to John. We're screwing up your name bad here. Yeah. What is it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay,
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. Funny story. My mom works in the education system down in LA, and the high school that she was once a principal of was called Grant High School. Big Armenian population, and John, the drummer, graduated from that high school.
Oh shit!
Not while she was working there, but they had kind of like a little wall Hall of Fame type of thing with little plaques. Yeah, he was on there.
That's rad.
So that was pretty funny.
I mean, that was some really. I mean, that must have been pretty fun for you. I mean, because the drumming was like crazy. Like the drumming was like 1 minute it was blast beats, 1 minute it was slow. They're kind of double bass. It was simple, but it was like easy a lot of the times too.
It was like the sense of songwriting for that band I felt was like so strong that
incredible.
They didn't need to show off everything. It was one of those things. The sum of the whole just creates something greater. If you pick them apart, maybe they're not all the best musicians.
How good is that record? Toxicity, really even now, huge. Just stands up. It's fucking incredible how good that record is. For a second record too. Because the first record was we actually took them out on their first shows. On the demo. They hadn't even. It was their first shows outside of California ever, and they were supporting Machine Head, and people hated them. We were just like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? This band is amazing," but like. They didn't get it, at that point.
I didn't get it at first. Like the first record, it didn't like click for me immediately. But then once the singles off of Toxicity, I was maybe 10 or 11 when that came out, so it was pretty impressive.
I mean, even now, Aerials is just probably one of the best songs of the last 20 years. Man. I mean, fucking like untouchable, really, in a lot of ways.
It definitely was goofy. Like that record.
It did.
It had it took a long time to make. It's one of the biggest records of all time at this point, but it took a hot minute for people not to think it was just the same goofy band that did that first thing. Like it's because it's got all the goofiness still, but it's really,
but
like
it's
so well done.
It is. It's almost like, to me, I always
because everybody
associate
knows all the words, regardless of the lyrics not making any goddamn sense. But
it almost always had like a Zappa vibe to me.
Totally.
To me, that's where I, because I was listening to Joe's Garage when I was growing up, and so it was that like kind of like, hey, fuck you, know, like we're gonna play.
Frank Zappa.
What's that?
It's definitely Frank Zappa.
Yeah. That's where I got.
Cool.
That's what I pulled out of it. And, it was just, I remember seeing them too, like as they exploded. And I think at one point they did an Ozfest. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did an Ozfest, and it was Disturbed and them. And it was Disturbed, nothing like, I got nothing against the Disturbed guys, but at this particular point in time, it was probably their most radio rock they had been, and it was like USA Chants, and like he'd give a big old speech about heavy metal, and then they go into this like kind of booty rock song. Okay. I was just like, what? I don't get it. Like, what is going on? And then System came on, and it was just blast beats into thrash parts into singing into just reggae thing, and then everybody danced, and like it was just the fucking drugs and all the, like it was just like fucking Shabo's out there like kicking the security guards and fucking, it was just that one point in the one song where it was like the Ronnie with Danny and Lisa came out, and then it was like it goes into that little reggae break in the middle, and Darren was just like, everybody dance, and literally everybody poured out into the aisles and just started dancing. Sick. Like I was just like, this is fucking amazing. Like it was like watching a whole crowd just be so fucking free and not give a fuck about what anybody thought about them. And it was
being
just
part of something like that Ozfest.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally. Yeah, where it was like very macho kind of leading up to that, and then it was like this was like no, just fucking be a fucking weirdo.
It made them pretty unique to their background, ethnicity, heritage, that like feeding into the music. Being Middle Eastern, Armenian, what have you, that like you can get away with stuff like that, or maybe even like the sound of their voice, the timbre of their voices when they sing solo or sing together, the types of riffs, like the types of heavy riffs, maybe the notes they use, you know what I mean, always sounded a little of that Eastern totally tonality. So it made it a really unique band. So so
that was what a cool starting point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think
what an interesting starting point.
I definitely thank my sister for that, because from there it was like, cool, we'll check out the one that follows up, and then they put out the double,
which are also awesome.
Yeah,
Mesmerize and Hypnotize.
Exactly.
The third one really grabbed me.
Steal This Album?
No, the first. I always forget if Mesmerize came first or Hypnotize came first.
I think it was Mesmerize because of that BYO track.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember when that came out, and that was huge. And that came out.
It's funny, that's funny that you connected with them. My kids, so I loved System of a Down, and I loved him for a long time. And then when he started playing music around my kids, we played everything. We played just metal, we played Machine Head, we played Metallica, we played rap, we played whatever.
Yeah.
And then System of a Down, both of their first favorite songs were System of a Down songs. Awesome. Yeah, like just different songs, but just totally randomly, like Xander.
Somehow that's not surprising.
Yeah.
Like it definitely has this appeal because it's really cool. Like it's instinctually cool sounding stuff to people that don't know what's cool and what's not cool yet. It's like really, really interesting music to the ears to hear.
Yeah.
Before you start trying to fit it into.
Yeah, Xander loved I'm just sitting in my car and wait. And he'd do this like hand motion, like every time it went waiting for my.
Getting into it.
And then Wyatt liked old school Hollywood. Old school Hollywood washed up. All the crazy shit.
That riff slams.
Yeah.
No, just great songwriters.
Yeah.
That was like the initial, like I can get a sense of there's more intricate groups out there, so my drumming could go from the meat and potatoes of the Ramones. Luckily with that, the speed came along.
Yes.
Of listening to punk and growing up with that. So my other cousin, who also played, same age as my sister, they're about 4 years older than I am, would do that. My sister would give me System of a Down and more radio stuff, no doubt, Blink-182, and then my other male cousin, they were both skateboarding at the time and jamming with their bands and doing all that. He would give me Ramones, Misfits, and then he got deeper into stuff like Discharge and Doom.
Oh, nice.
And went that way. So I had all of this to kind of feed off of. not quite the heavy metal tilt just yet, but System of a Down was like the point into Metallica.
Yeah. No, that's cool though. I mean, like, I think
it.
you got to learn all that stuff too. You know, like No Doubt was probably super popular. Like you want to hear that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, Discharge, you're getting this kind of punk influence, which obviously influenced everything after it in metal anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a huge, Discharge was a huge influence on Machine Head, huge influence on Metallica, Slayer, like that kind of stuff. That's rad.
So that's pretty much like where it started up.
But it doesn't sound like John was maybe like the drum influence in a way.
The big time, probably like to the point where I still lift.
Oh yeah, nice. little
licks, fills, beats, pockets. The way he'll do accents like that, I still use that to this day.
Nice.
Even on Warbringer records, you know
That's
what I mean?
awesome.
Like I'll be like wink, wink.
What was the metal drummer that kind of like blew your mind?
Lars. Like initially, it was the jump from Toxicity to Master of Puppets. That was like the immediate follow. So as soon as I heard Battery, it's like I didn't know music could be this extreme. I never heard anybody play lead guitar this way.
Oh, right.
I never heard a band this tight, that fast, and still be this powerful.
That's interesting because that would have been probably 15 years old at that point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't a new. It was. I'm surprised that it wouldn't be like a new metal band or something.
No, see, that's kind of where everything kind of came full circle. Where it was like, instead of diving into the scene of what's happening now, I kind of left it at System of a Down, and as that new American metal started emerging in the early 2000s, we went backwards.
Right.
We found what influenced these guys.
Yeah. I was going to say, because like you could have gone Lamb of God then, or Chimera, or,
No,
you
went
went
the other
backwards.
Way. Exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
We wanted to find out like where this all stems from. So it was Puppets into Lightning. And then from that, you dive into the Megadeth, the Slayers, you find the backstory.
Yeah.
So I definitely started with those initial bands.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How cool.
You just dive deeper into the whole.
Yeah.
So that was it, like you were saying, around 04.
So Lars, huh?
Oh, big time.
You got to be one of the only drummers I've ever spoken with who like straight up is like Lars Ulrich. Isn't it? That's awesome. I always sit there and say like, because everybody fucking rags on him. Every drummer I know rags on him.
You can rag on him now, but back then, as a songwriter, as a player, he served the songs, but he was doing,
I think people
the
like.
I
think that he's so underrated in like the arrangement, the weird kind of like very distinctive style. We talked about this with Chris when he was on here. Like he's just got like such a weird style that it like.
Again,
but it kind of made Metallica sound like the way Metallica sound. Like without, if they had another drummer, it would have been a completely different sound. And there was just such cool stuff. And like when you play, I think when you play it, I know like because we covered Battery at one point, and like I know it was like, whoa, this is fucking totally different than I thought it was. Like
all the thrash beat a little differently.
Yeah,
his kick drum patterns are different. He's throwing toms in between randomly. You know what I mean? And we're still in the verse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's another one of those songs on the list of just bizarrely drummed songs. By Metallica.
Yeah, and like, but maybe it doesn't sound. Like I think that with him too, it's not really like a flashy style. Like it's never like, like you're not going to hear something like that.
I don't think he was capable of doing that.
Yeah,
he wasn't Lombardo.
But he added this like kind of a technicality to it that was like, I credit him with the kind of like, like the end of one. I mean, like. That had never happened prior to that. Yeah. Like nobody had ever done that kind of syncopated.
A thing in thrash is definitely people will argue about Gene Hoglan doing something similar when he was in Dark Angel.
Okay.
The opening track's called Darkness Descends.
Okay.
It's a similar pattern. Doesn't run the same way that one does.
Okay.
I think that's an 86 record. And everybody's like, that's the topic.
I haven't heard that
right
one.
There.
Okay.
Oh, man,
okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard they jacked that whole part.
Maybe. Before, yeah. I just don't think that. I think that without that beat and without that riff, like you wouldn't have a Fear Factory. You wouldn't have a million bands after that. Like
gun personified.
Even like Meshuggah to some degree, like kind of took that and went some other. Yeah.
That rips the foundation of that whole band.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your connection? I know you have one. What's your connection with Nick Menza?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Megadeth, right?
Yeah, exactly. So going into that, within the past like 3-4 years, I've been working, playing drums for Chris Poland in his jazz group. It's called Ohm. So it's like instrumental jazz trio.
Okay.
And then he's starting to do a solo thing, which is more guitar oriented. So we always had both kind of happening at the same time. So prior to me, Nick Menza of Megadeth was in Ohm working with Chris.
Oh, gotcha.
Doing the jazz thing, but they were also starting like a heavy project. And then unfortunately, I would hang around before I joined just through a mutual friend, go to the rehearsals, go to their shows. obviously a big fan of both of them and what they did in Megadeth. And then unfortunately Nick Menza passed away. So then that same mutual friend kind of put my name into the hat for people that Chris could potentially jam with. So he calls me out for a jam. I thought it would just kind of be like a loose thing or whatever. And he's like, by chance, do you know any of our songs? I'm like, yeah, we'll try one. I played one. No mistakes. Felt good. They were impressed. And then I played 7 more.
Badass.
No mistakes. And they were like, who the fuck is this kid?
Did they already have a record out?
They have a few releases, but they're so far apart.
Okay.
So I kind of just watched whatever, thanks to YouTube and any kind of medium that way. Any video I could find of Nick Menza playing with them,
Right.
and just kind of rip them off online
Nice.
and just listen to him and see what he did, and then I did my own thing with it.
I mean, that must have been a pretty rad experience, especially. I mean, I can hear a lot of Megadeth in you guys.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely a Megadeth
Sure.
for sure, and like especially in the lead work and like even like the leads, like the arrangements of the lead sections are very Megadeth-y.
Cool.
And it's awesome. I mean, you got some fucking shredders.
I specifically noticed that about Chase's style. Chase definitely is like got the 1990 Marty Friedman style as his.
Yeah,
like,
I was
guitar
tripping on
style.
that. Yeah, on the way in, I listened to like your whole, like a lot of your discography.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah. For him, it's very much like him and like Skolnick.
Oh yeah, that's true.
On top
definitely.
of the Dawkins and like the 80s shredder scenes that he's really into for sure. But as far as like thrash goes, the Megadeth and the Testament, like lead guitar work was always like more keen to these types of players.
So you're in LA, you're going down the rabbit hole with all these thrash bands, and then so who's the band that kind of ignited the LA like revival of thrash?
Well, I don't think it was any one in particular. I think it was the fact that it's like these guys from Norwalk found these guys from Canyon Country found Warbringer from Ventura, and we all just kind of like started playing backyards in the respective cities.
Oh, nice.
And then everybody kind of congregated into LA, enough, like it was central enough so everybody could travel,
right?
An equidistance to meet at the same point. So I do remember it was maybe 06, like just starting maybe my sophomore year in high school, and it was a show with the band Merciless Death, Fueled by Fire, Warbringer was on the bill. Those were.
And you're still in high school?
Yeah, I'm still in high school.
That's badass.
I'm like 15, and I think they all graduated high school at that particular point. So everybody was always older than me.
Okay.
And I had my garage band. We're just playing a bunch of covers and backyards, and at that point, it's like fun.
That's rad that bands are still starting in backyards.
Oh yeah,
because that's where we started.
Backyard,
We were playing Exodus covers and Black Magic and A Lesson in Violence in fucking backyards in Fremont, which might as well have been Nevada back in 1985.
Sure.
Like it was 45 miles south of Oakland, and it might as well have been a different state because just nobody had cars and stuff like that. So
exactly, you were always asking, and at that point, cell phones weren't what they were.
No internet.
No Uber, exactly, definitely
internet didn't exist.
No Uber.
Yeah. Well, even for my time in like 04, 05, trying to find all these bands, I remember to get music, I would look up record stores and I would take the bus.
Yeah.
I couldn't drive, you know what I mean? Folks are at work or whatever, so I'd take the bus. Or to get to like Amoeba or Hollywood to buy my shirts, heavy metal t-shirts, or just to look into like a better library, finding things you couldn't find at Best Buy or Walmart. You could find the Megadeth and Metallica's at Best Buy and Walmart.
Yes.
But then you'd go to Amoeba, and then that's where the library kicked in. I could find Possessed, Sepultura, Testament.
In some ways, it is more helpful to, I was just going to say, I was just about to thinking, like, why wouldn't you go online? But in a lot of ways, like those, you used to go into a record store and there'd be a metal section and you could kind of just go and look at everything and be like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be into that, but like, at least this band seems like, this is thrash. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily a guessing game. It's like, I knew the band name, I knew the logo, thanks to the internet. And at that particular point, MySpace was a huge help for all these local bands. Coming out of LA. So it was pretty much like seeing, and you can see the list of their influences. So I'm going to go watch these bands who are older than me, but they look the look. Everybody's wearing tight pants, big white shoes, vests or leathers.
And they're older than you. They're
shirts.
19.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you look up to them because you're not peers necessarily.
Yeah. Was Municipal Waste around at this point?
Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
They're from the East Coast. They're from Virginia. So them, and then
I was wondering if that had a role in kind of
not in LA, but definitely just thrash in
overall.
general.
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
But specifically for the LA thing, I think they already had their first record out. The Wasted. I'm pretty sure Toxic Holocaust already had their record out.
Okay.
So there was an idea of it.
Right.
These guys sounded a little more crossover. Joel and Toxic Holocaust were a bit more of crust mixed
Yep.
with thrash, mixed with, you know, whatever he was doing at that particular time when he started. So more so like the particular like resurgence, if you will.
Yeah.
That like really, really happened in like.
What's the first band that broke out of LA from that scene? Was it Bonded by Blood?
No, they were much
Was that
later
later?
on. Yeah, that was later on. The first one to get signed was a band called Merciless Death, which was pretty much a Slayer worship.
Yeah.
They got signed
Dark
to
Angel song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Literally.
We'll give you
Yeah.
merciless death.
Yeah. So they were the first ones to get signed, and we were all stoked. And we were like, man, just these three punk ass kids that all, you know, dress like it's 1985, you know, playing, you know, with this demo. Got them signed an indie label. I think it was called Heavy Artillery.
Okay.
They did two.
Yeah, they were kind of they were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was what my band was on.
No shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
That was what Midnight.
They were
Fish
kind
was
of they
on.
were pretty
Cool.
pivotal in like launching that scene, right?
Yeah, the whole label got sold to Earache Records eventually.
Oh shit.
It was kind of a weird day. You find out, you're like, oh wait, that's my label in the news that got sold to Earache.
We're on
Records.
Earache now.
Yeah, well,
Cool.
yeah.
So that was the initial one. And then, like I said, there was another group, Fuel by Fire, that got signed to Metal Blade. And then Warbringer was the one that got signed to Century Media. So whatever didn't happen with the other bands, and there were plenty more happening, whether it was death metal, black metal, thrash metal, or like heavy metal, there's always something happening in LA. Even to this day, it's just overload of so many bands and so many demos and etc. But Warbringer was the one who seemed to just have it set up the best as far as the business end of things were concerned, because everybody's a kid.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah, I'll sign on the dotted line. No,
Yep,
no
of
problem.
course.
I'm going to work with so-and-so to do my record. Sure, no problem. Oh, cool. I have a manager now. I have a booking agent now. I have a record label and all the reps there now.
Right.
You know, so that took off.
Yeah.
So I remember going.
Yeah, you guys kind of started out like Warbringer had like some pretty big tours, you know, within the first few years of the record coming out, right?
For the initial first two, which I wasn't a part of, the first one came out in 2008, and they just pretty much toured nonstop up until they came up here to Sharkbite to do their second record.
Okay.
I forget the engineer's name, Adam.
So no, Gary Holt produced it, and
Yeah.
Adam engineered it, and I mixed it. That was
Oh,
the thing.
okay.
But I came down here only one day to hang out with them, and like Gary showed me his weird guitar tone setup, which I remember, and I loved it too. And it was just, he did everything different than I would have done it. I was like, ooh, I don't know how this is gonna come out. And then I got the tracks, and I thought they were great. And he did a cool thing where he had like, you know, he had the condenser mic, and then he had like a super distorted SM57 right next to it, recording at the same time. So
Okay.
you could just blend in a natural distortion.
Oh,
Shit,
nice.
It's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
He had some weird techniques, but I liked it.
Cool.
Rad.
Is that the one with Right to Remain Violent?
Living in a whirlwind. No, that's the second to newest record, right? Yeah.
Is it?
So that they would have been up here in like 2008, and I think that
Yeah, it
record
was
came
2008.
out spring of 2009. So
Okay.
then the Violent song, pretty 2017.
Oh, really? That's that late,
Yeah,
huh?
so I joined the band. It's been almost 10 years with me as a part of the band. So they were already a band, and I was a fan of it, you know, from like 2004 to like 2010.
Let's play a little bit of that right now.
Yeah, how about
That's a jam right there.
Like,
Oh, I'm not connected.
It's not
What the fuck, dude? This was connecting earlier, just completely randomly for no reason. And then, so here it goes. Kabadoosh. Oh! These guys, I tell you what, your singer does some good O's and black.
all the time.
Live.
I gotta get his black on Jamie Joss. Jamie Joss has got like you know, metal singers who make like fucking crazy sounds.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That song's
This
on
is you?
the whole time.
On drums
Yep.
and rhythm guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tight as fuck.
Thanks. Yeah, I wrote this tune. I wrote this riff and I just come. Yeah, there you go. Simple, right? Meat potatoes.
So good.
Thanks.
I was just saying to John last night, this is my favorite of the newer Warbringer stuff.
Cool.
It's a fucking banger. Like, it's like a one-time, you listen to it one time and it's in your fucking head.
Cool.
Like,
Cool. I'm glad we were able to accomplish that for sure. That was the goal. For sure.
yeah.
Did you open with this last night?
Yeah.
Said
Oh, yeah?
I didn't miss a moment of your show. I walked in and they just started.
Cool.
I was like, "This is their first song?" I hope so.
What's that?
I was like, I hope this is their first song.
So good. What about let me talk to you about this song.
Yeah.
So Shattered Like Glass.
Yeah.
Is that a newer jam too?
No, so that was the first record I was on.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would have been my first record, and Remain Violent is on the third record I'm on.
Okay. Yeah. Fucking the Shattered Like Glass song has the breakdown at the end is so heavy. I was like, woo!
Thanks, son.
I was like, we got to play that. We're going to go straight to the breakdown. This fucking breakdown is crushing. Is this it?
Yeah.
Right here. The shit comes in so heavy. Woo! That's a jam right there. You're playing guitar on this too?
No, at this point I was just the drummer. So I helped the main songwriter and main guitarist at the time, like, write this.
Here's a question I haven't asked.
Yeah.
Are you the one playing all the rhythm guitars on the record I'm mixing right now?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know
Well,
that.
so far the songs you've done, yes.
Okay, so not all of them.
Adam and I split.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So the 3 songs you have done, that's all me.
When I was talking to John last night, he had a really good point about Warbringer, which is that your early stuff, like your first 2 records, are like a feral version of you guys.
Sure.
And it's got its
Feral?
Yeah, because there's not nearly as much song structure. If you play stuff from that, like, it's just like, it's way more like wild sounding and like not
more
as
untamed.
structured.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like all their
The first 2 records are definitely like that. Just a lot of twists and turns, shove
Yeah.
as many riffs into like 3 minutes as you can.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
And then from that particular record where I joined, from that point on,
it's way
a
more
sense of
structured.
song definitely came into play where we were like, all right, we don't need to jack off. Like in 3 minutes, you know what I mean? We can write some good songs.
It's a
Badass.
night and day band change from the 2 records I've done because it's like a decade apart. And
Right,
like,
yeah.
they've gone from, like I said, feral thrash metal, which has its own cool vibe. And he was talking about, I can't go, he's like, maybe I'd like to do that, but we can't go back to that kind of songwriting because we just don't know how.
Right.
Like
It's like once you learn, once you learn, it's like hard to like go
Yeah.
put yourself back in like, okay, like I'm gonna pretend like I'm
Sure.
18 again in
Yeah.
19
I just can't do
or
it.
2006 or whatever.
And I don't think I'd ever want to like work that way. I would take that energy and apply it to what I know now. So there are some frantic, shorter burners on the new stuff that he's going to be working on. But it's in the spirit of that early material, but it's definitely not that early material.
The new track is a banger.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Firepower Kills.
Oh, thanks.
It's a fucking banger.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Tell me about I know you're like became like a pretty big songwriter, right?
So on the record we just heard with Shattered Like Glass, his name's John Locks. He was the initial like founder of the band. Him and our singer John Keevil had started the band. So up till this point, when I first joined, I was just a drummer. You know, I contributed riffs here, maybe arrangements there, and then on the follow-up record, that's when I kind of introduced myself as a songwriter. And I was like, here, I've got these ideas, and then from that point on, John left the band, so I kind of just took over out of necessity, and that's where you have the Remain Violent record, where a lot of that is either I took my guitar players' ideas and made songs out of them because they didn't present full songs to me, or I just started from scratch, like that Remain Violent riff.
Right on.
That main one was like, this is a great riff.
Yeah.
So let me just milk the shit out of it, and we'll write a killer song.
It's there's something about that gets lost along the way, though. Like you need to have those fucking big hooks. You know, like it's great to have like a million riffs, but you still got to have that like fucking numbskull Neanderthal, like what people are gonna fucking shout along to.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, I've definitely felt that one was like not intentionally like lowest common denominator, but if you just make it really direct, people can latch onto it.
Yeah.
And that's what I found definitely worked super well working with the band Power Trip over the summer.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. You did some dates with them, right?
Yeah. So I was the circumstances.
That must have been cool, man.
Oh man.
Because you were like, I know we were talking about them when you were recording with Machine Head.
I remember just playing them. I think like on my JBL while I was setting up drums, and you're like, oh, that's a violence riff, or like, oh, that's not Eternal Nightmare, is it? You know what I mean? And it goes into one of their breakdowns or whatever.
That's right. I can sit there. I can do that with all like municipal waste and shit. I was like, ooh, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
That's a little close.
Yeah. No, we all definitely just wear it on our sleeves. And initially when it all started, it was just worship.
No, I could.
It just worship.
Yeah, many of those dudes have come up like, dude, it was such a big influence. It's like it's fucking rad. Like it's flattering. It's it's an honor that this band that only basically lasted 4 years. Like back then, like, and by the 4th year, no one even fucking cared. Like that it all these years later has this impact. You know,
Definitely.
like you don't know.
No, I remember finding it. I remember I had to go to Amoeba and dig through it. You know what I mean? And I found it was a reissue of Eternal Nightmare. It came with Live at Slim's.
Yes.
Disc.
Yes.
You know what I
we
mean?
put that out.
I was stoked. I was just like, man, I get the record and I get a live record. So yeah, I do remember finding that, and then later finding Oppressing the Masses.
So then, so you joined Power Trip for you did like a month or so of dates
Yeah,
or
it was
something,
like a
right?
5 week run
Yeah.
with them. So they
That's
flew.
awesome.
Yeah, they flew me out. I had less than a week to learn the set. One rehearsal with them. Played two hometown shows. So their biggest show in Dallas,
It
where
was
they're
like
from
an
today.
emergency replacement.
Yeah, it was
right?
pretty like immediate and,
okay.
and urgent. Their drummer unfortunately was in an accident, was hospitalized.
Oh my God.
And they didn't want to cancel everything. They canceled one show, and it was like a bigger festival. I forget where, but then they had 2 hometown shows, one in Dallas, one in Houston, and then 4 weeks playing like the biggest festivals they'd ever done to date overseas in Europe. So,
Oh shit!
so it was just one of those.
Did you do the Bloodstock?
No, we did Download.
Okay, Download.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Sick.
So Download, Hellfest, Grass Pop, all these major ones that I had never done before with any other projects or any other band. So
awesome, man.
So it was a good feeling to be there, and I don't know, there was this sense of like respect for the band. I don't know, just being the young guys, but it was like us, and then when the bill to follow us is immediately Behemoth, Trivium, Amon Amarth,
Yeah.
Slipknot,
Yeah.
and they're all looking at us like, oh, they're fans of ours,
Yeah.
and they're shaking our hands.
They're
looking at us
the
eye to
fucking
eye.
hot band, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so brothers, I love them. Definitely, like I was talking about, just like power of the riff. Not lowest common denominator, but when you make it really hooky, direct, simple.
Yeah. Swing of the
So-
Axe is
yeah.
it's fucking just
That
a
song-
thrash
Yeah.
masterpiece. You know?
Every time we played it, it just translated so well, and you can latch on immediately. You don't
Yeah.
have to think it's not over so technical. You don't
Yes.
get it. You just
Yeah.
immediately start.
Dude's got a
bobbing.
sick right hand.
Oh yeah,
The fucking guitar player's got a sick right hand. He crushed it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Awesome,
definitely.
man.
And that's one of those where the sum of the whole just makes something greater.
Mhm.
You pull them apart, they're solid players. But it's not like you're not going to find some crazy prog.
Yeah.
Whatever out of them. So together,
Yeah.
we can play to so many people.
You don't always need that, you know
No,
what
exactly.
I mean? Like sometimes
that's what I
think,
loved about punk and
I
that
grew up with a
formation.
lot of dudes who played a lot better than me.
Sure, sure.
Like went to MIT and all that, and came back, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like it just didn't. They never had that
MIT?
fucking what is it
MI?
called? GIT.
No,
GIT?
MI, just MI.
What's
Musicians
MI? Oh, MI.
Institute.
Yeah. What's MIT?
That would be Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I went to all that shit,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
was like it was something got lost. It was almost like they knew too.
I think it just wasn't practical.
Like, too
and
good.
You couldn't you couldn't apply it. A lot of that time that works great in
Yeah.
the bedroom.
Like
or-
you got to just fucking get out there and play in front of a
Dude,
hostile
yeah.
thrash crowd and
exactly.
fucking cut your teeth and be like, okay, like this song didn't get us killed tonight, so this is good. And that's how we were starting. We were playing Ruthie's Inn and Mabuhay
Sick.
Gardens and the Stone. And it's like, if you didn't fucking, I mean, it really was like that fucking Blues Brothers chicken wire scene,
yeah,
like
yeah.
where like if fucking they didn't like you, they'd just jump up on stage and fucking yank you off and pour beer on your head and fucking unplug
you
your,
off.
they'd straight up like unplug your gear and fucking
fucking
shit like that. Like dudes would just
shit.
be like, fuck you, get off.
No
Like
shit.
it was fucking rough, like so when you played there, it was like, especially early on, we were fucking nervous, like fuck, we got to play everything 100 miles an hour
Sure.
and just fucking crush it. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, I mean, I get it, and I love seeing it that's going again, and that fucking there's a whole revival and a whole thing that's I'm proud of you guys, and I'm
Thanks.
happy for you guys. You're
That means
playing
a lot.
fucking shows with Death Angel, and it's fucking rad.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling where it's like we were fans, always will be fans first, but to just grow up and like discover all this stuff and just go, man, this is all so great, and then now to like know these people like yourself and the guys in Death Angel and Exodus and pretty much everybody we've met along the way from doing this. Now it's like everybody can shake our hand and just there's a respect.
Yeah,
So that I think is you just can't really take that away.
let's end with the new jam. Set up the new jam for me. Firepower Kills. Tell me a little bit about it.
So, it like initially started with our singer who had the title, and I think he had like the vocal hook written just in his head. So he can't play an instrument, so he kind of just Beavis and Butthead to me, like the
Yeah.
rhythms, like or whatever.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah. So then I pretty much just
That's
sat,
how I write
yeah.
almost all my riffs.
Hell yeah. So I just sat with him with a guitar, and I'm like, all right, cool. I started pedaling on E, and I was like, what do you think? Does this feel right? And then I moved to A. You know what I mean? And we kind of locked it in A, and it sounded a bit more speed metal,
Yes.
rather than like chunky.
Totally.
Chunky. So we went that route. A little more of the '85 classic thrash, and that was pretty much it. Just the back and forth.
Yeah,
between
this
the
has
two
got
of us.
this has got some good. Let's play some of this here.
Definitely.
This is good. Yeah, that's all A, right?
All A.
I was all, when I heard that, I was all, ooh, a song in A.
Yeah.
We never hear that anymore.
So yeah, I pretty much composed this entire thing just in my room.
Rad.
Yeah. So this is me on rhythm guitar and drums.
Oh, killer. Dude, I tell you what, that fucking, you got a sick right hand, dude. That shit is fucking devastating. It is fucking, you're digging in. You've got that, like, one of the things that a lot of modern guitar players don't get anymore. Like, you got to scrape every fucking down pick, you know?
Yeah. It's just straight Hetfield worship.
Right.
All day.
For sure.
All day.
That Master of Puppets. System of a Down into Master of a Puppets played off. Yes. Rad. That's so good. So rad to hear a song in A.
Thanks. So yeah, he just Beavis and Butthead to me, like the idea of that riff, and I wrote the riff. It's
Killer.
pretty funny.
That's a pretty good Beavis and Butthead. And I love the key change.
Yeah, definitely. I was like, it's gotta
Love
move.
the key
It's gotta
change.
move. And then we'll go back.
The Lost Art. He's got like such a good Bailoff vibe to him.
That was like the goal for this type of song. Was just like 85. Think 85.
Yes. Fucking awesome.
Thanks.
Carlos Cruz, thank you for being on No Fucking Regrets.
Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. I knew you'd be rad. You fucking slayed it on Do or Die.
Appreciate it.
Machine
yeah.
Head
Yeah, that was a
song.
hell of a lot of fun.
Fucking my drummer Matt was just cursing you left
Oh,
and
yeah?
right. Just
No
like
shit.
he's like, dude, this
Oh,
fucking drum track is so fucking ridiculous. Maybe we should play a bit of that for a second.
Please.
Let's play a little
By
bit
all
of
means,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about how it all went with Matt and Chris and Varg and all that. Yeah,
It was awesome. Yeah, let's play a little bit of this though, because your fucking performance on this is pretty fucking jaw dropping.
Thank you.
You know, like it's fucking.
No, it was a nice change of pace.
It's-
just
Just
do
to
drums.
preface this too, like this song was already, you had written parts of. Carlos came in. He played 5 songs when he came up,
Yes.
but I thought of him for pretty much in large part
Specifically
because
for,
of this song and because of one of the other ones that isn't done yet. Like, but this one, I was like, oh, we need like a good thrash drummer. Like, well, what about dude who came up and recorded those Exmortis tracks? He'd be fucking perfect for this.
Yeah.
So that's the whole origin of how you guys.
And you came up, and I was like, I got to say, for me, I was in a pretty dark place. Like I was like, we had just wrapped up the tour. I was feeling like, I was in this fucking hole of depression and fucking. I was just trying to push through and keep writing and fucking. And you came up, and I was like, we'd never met, didn't even know each other.
Exactly.
Like,
I was like,
Zach recommended you, and I was like, okay, Zach's fucking saying this dude's awesome. I mean,
Take a
I
chance.
heard your shit, and I was like, yeah, he sounds fucking rad. But
different
we just fucking bashed through this song, and just so many. I mean, I think I had the verses and the chorus, and maybe I had the main like heavy riff in the middle, but like all the kind of rest of it was like nothing was done,
transitions
and like no
snippets
transition,
here
and we just fucking hashed it out like in real time,
Yeah,
like it
on
was
the
kind of
quick.
crazy, really spontaneous, and like all this fucking. It was awesome, and I can't thank you enough for your contribution
Absolutely,
to
likewise.
it. I mean, it was fucking incredible, and just jamming it with you was just so much fun. And it was
Okay.
like, Jared and I were like, holy shit, like we're just created like all of this shit out of nowhere, so it was fucking. But listen to this drum track right here. Listen to this fucking drum track right here. Woo! Just the start of it right there. Super clean, rolls galore, sick fills.
it's all about the one coming up here.
Oh, this is one for Lagudi
Oh yes.
and his love. Woo!
Is it Rototoms? Yeah, Rototoms. No, it's not Rototoms.
Not Rototoms.
No, it's not. We kept on getting this
They're
wrong.
Octobons.
Octobons, that's what it is. Octobons. Because everybody was like, Rototoms, that's fucking whack. And I was like, okay, it's not Rototoms. So many good fills. So much fucking fire. Like, it's fucking on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this track is just, you should be really proud
I
of this
definitely am to be
fucking
a part
track,
of this,
man.
definitely.
Like, you
Absolutely.
fucking killed it,
Thank
dude.
you.
But no, it was awesome having you here. It was awesome having you on the podcast, man.
Appreciate
It was
it.
awesome having you fucking jam with Machine Head and come up with this amazing music that's going to be coming out soon. So
Okay.
keep your ears peeled for that. But dude, Carlos Cruz, thank you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Hell yeah.
Zach.
Burp.
Oh, let's get this going. Look at this. I got an outro and
watch out.
everything. I'm
Watch
not
out.
fucking around.
You forgot the intro today.
I know. No, I got to do a different intro.
Oh, okay. I see.
Cool. Nice.
Flynn.